The Call Me Successful podcast, Connect series brought to you by Sell by Legal.
So ladies and gentlemen, we're at Raywhite Connect and I've got a very special guest for you today, Shiv Nair, all the way from Raywhite United Group. Shiv, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So I want to start this question for you, right? It's very interesting one because you started your journey as an agent. Now you're a business owner. Now you're part of a bigger group. But what made you get into real estate in the first place?
It's funny. I was having this conversation yesterday with a security guard at the Star.
A security guard, as you do. Was it a 2 a.m. conversation?
Yeah, no. And he was like, Shiv, because I saw him earlier in the day, David Jones, and he recognized me again, and he wanted to get into real estate, and he asked me the same question. He said, "How did you get into real estate?" And I always had a passion for property. My dad, coming from being an immigrant as well, he had a large focus in property. But long story short, it was actually a video of Gavin I saw.
Gavin Rivers?
Yeah.
Yeah, wow.
I kept seeing Gavin's videos on socials, and I said to myself, I want to be this guy. And at that same time as well, my best mate started at an agency, and seeing him and seeing what he was, doing as well. But yeah, more so for me,
How long ago was that?
Yeah, so this year is 10 years in real estate.
10 years, wow.
Yeah. So 10 years in August.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah. So it's gone, throughout the last 10 years, there's been different, things I've, worked on, and, different, the journey's been amazing, but yeah, 10 years now.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So where did you start? Is it the same areas that you're in at the moment?
So basically, I fell into my core market. So my core market's Glenwood, and I've been the number one agent in Glenwood for the last 8 years. So I fell into an office in that suburb, in the neighboring suburb, when I was working for a principal who was the number one agent in that market. And and then from there, I've just never left, So my first office was at Rain and Horn. I was at Rain and Horn for about 18 months.
See, I didn't know that about you. I thought you started Harcourt's.
No. So 18 months at Rain and Horn. First office, I would say from in the first 18 months, probably 6 of it, I probably just lived the life of a real estate agent. I wore the suits, I drove the BMW, can afford it, and just looked the part, made no money, but it was just about the socials. But then 6 months in, I recall my principal at that time, and he hadn't said to me anything about how this all works, right? He goes, "Mate, just so you know, you owe me 20K. So what? So what do you mean? So you're in 20K debit. I'm like, okay, shit, this is time to get serious now. So that's when I realized that the money you actually get given, you got to pay back now. I said, okay, cool. So then, I'd say 6 months in, I then started to really work hard. And then that's when I made the decision to go all in. And that's when I started working 7 days a week, and I've done that for the last almost 10 years now.
Yeah, so 7 days a week, what does it entail? Like, what are you doing every day? You go from 20K behind.
Yeah.
So what kind of activities do you think you're going to do to get ahead? Yeah,
so basically, my days are quite different now versus early on, for me, I conduct majority of my auctions on Sundays. So Monday to Friday, listing appraisals, listing appointments, vendor meetings, working with the team, and then Saturdays, open home, Sunday, open homes auctions as well. I did that early on. I made the decision to do that early on because when I first started, I was 23. Back then, 10 years ago, 23 was considered to be quite young, and I'd lose a lot of listings because I didn't have the experience or whatever. So I said to myself, if someone's working 5 days a week, in a year, I'll work 7. I'll get those Ks up essentially, and build up that experience level. And I recall at Rain and Horn, my other team members and associates and other agents would always take the principals with them at listing appointments to win the listing. I didn't. I wanted to fail. I wanted to fail faster. So what I did was I just, kept on pitching, kept on losing, but kept on learning. And the more I failed, the more I learned, the better I got as well. And then next thing you know, I'd say 12 months into real estate, I was coming third in my market. By the time I left Rain and Horn, 18 months in, I was the third agent in the marketplace. Joined Harcourts. I was with Harcourts for about 5 years. And I'd say I grew the most there. I'm still very grateful for my old principal, Andrew Drain. He basically gave me the vehicle to succeed. He knew I was a high performer, and he knew that I had large ambitions and big ambitions to kill it. And he just let me be and just let me push, so grateful for that opportunity there. And then, 3.5 years ago, then I opened up Railway TNG, now we've merged with Pete, of course, as Railway United Group. And that's been amazing itself.
So I want to get back to what you said about the hardcore days. The vehicle to succeed. What does the vehicle to succeed look like? Is it just leaving you alone or giving you opportunities or leads, or what does it look like?
Yeah, a bit of both, I guess. I mean, and for me, I think some people, they don't need motivation. They're self-motivated. I think they're self-driven as well. And I'm one of those people, So for me, Andrew gave me support, systems, processes, the time, the space. He mentored me, inspired me as well. But he knew that he'd never push me because I pushed myself. I recall when I was at Rain and Horn, my principal said to me, mate, if you're at 350 GCR in a year, you're killing it. I went to Harcourts and, I was now in the big leagues essentially because that Harcourts office was the number one office in the Hills market. And we had people back then writing 1 million, 1.5. I'm like, fuck, 350. These guys said that was great. Like it's nothing.
It's all perspective. It has a different perspective.
And that's when I started to learn, okay, it depends who you surround yourself with, and like who's in your inner circle, right? And so moving to Harcourts, I was now inspired because I was the lowest performing person there, but I was surrounded with, high performers, and for me, sponging of them and learning even the smallest habits that really helped me, and from my days at Harcourt, started at about, I think I was writing at my first year about 300. Before I left, I said to myself, I want to win number one Asian Harcourt. And that was my goal ever since the start of there, because the only other person who won it in the office was my old principal. And we had some big agents there. And I did that, last year of me being at Harcourt to won number one. And that's when I made the move to Railway. And it went from 350 my first year to about 1.9 million, before I left Harcourt.
Before you left.
Yeah. And then, but then again, like you said to me before, then the journey to Railway, it was actually a, unexpected one, because I never considered Railway because all I knew was Harcourts. That's it. My cousins in Fiji own Harcourts offices. My younger brother works for Harcourts as well. So it's just natural.
It's blues in the blood.
Yeah,
they
exactly.
say. Yeah,
exactly. So at no point did I think about changing brands. But then again, I had friends in the market, and other agents who had recently joined Railway, and Pete himself as well. And I was, they said, have a discussion. I recall meeting with Tim Snell and Andrew McCulloch. Funny part was, right, so I'm Hindu, right? So I didn't really beef, and so where did they take me? To a steak restaurant. And that was the first time I had steak properly, but I said, I can't embarrass myself and not eat steak now. So it's funny, all I eat now is steak.
It's crazy how that happened, right?
Honestly.
What a great icebreaker.
No, honestly. Yeah. But no, so I was so grateful for Tim and Andrew's support, and it's still natural. I recall, when I was having meetings with Harcourts to open up the office, and they were giving me all these options and all these things, and we're catching up at a pub, he's showing me Excel sheets. And then I had my first meeting with Ray White, and we walked into that office. There was about 20 people there to support me and said, I'll help you with this, I'll help you with that. And so I walked away from the first initial meeting, and I was like, I loved Tim and Andrew already, but after that meeting, I said, okay, I felt empowered, and I felt that I'll be well supported.
But how did you feel in their network, that you're the best agent in the network? Did you feel like you need to achieve more? Is that why you're thinking you think you might to it? Or?
I could have stayed at Harcourts, and, I could have stayed number one there, and I would have been comfortable. I've always been someone who always seeks to be uncomfortable. And for me, that was part of me joining Railway. Was like how they say, you either be, the small fish in a big pond. I didn't want to be that big fish in a small pond. So for me, joining Railway I was competing with the best of the best, and like I said, one of my early inspirations was Gavin, and, having now the opportunity to compete with him and also work together with other high-performing people, Pete, Dave Walker and all the others as well, it was a no-brainer. And for me, that's why I joined. I recall still going to my first state awards at Railway. It was the most humbling experience because the year before I won number 1 for Harcourts. And that, first year joining it, I won nothing. I said to my team, this can't happen again.
This can't happen. It never did.
And yeah, that's right. And then
Never
since
did.
then, every awards, we win something, and we progress. And that's all. Yeah, that's the main thing.
How scary is this shit? Because the transition from number 1 agent to business owner, not just a business owner, but
Yeah.
business owner and another network you don't know about, you going on trust,
Yeah.
2 people that you like, you resonated with.
Yeah.
How scary is that taking the jump? Because sometimes people do it too quickly.
Yeah.
And sometimes people don't do it when
Yeah.
they should.
Yeah.
But what did it feel like for you?
Yeah. I mean, so I always had a goal of opening my office by 30. And irrespective of anything else, I was going to achieve that goal, and I did. And we opened up when I was 30, and I knew that it was always going to be a challenge because again, I've never owned a business, I've never run a business as well. I've always had an EBU, and I think early phase of me running my own team and having an EBU was quite important because it helped me know how business structures work, but also how running a team works as well. So when we opened up, it was essentially I picked up my team at Harcourts, moved them to a new office. So nothing would change for us, except now I was more so, running the office and had more business owner responsibilities. I mean, the first 3.5 years, doing it all myself, it was definitely challenging. And I think as we grew each year as well, the responsibilities of running the business started to, add up, and the percentage of my time was being more spent running the business than, being an agent, which I love doing, more than anything else. And I think people need to understand that it's not as easy as what people from the outside may look. It's a lot of pressure. People don't see the stresses which business owners go through. At the end of the day, everything falls back on us. The good and the bad as well. So I think it's not for everyone, but I loved it, and I'm still loving it at the moment as well, especially with where we are, with the merger now as well.
Yeah, one of the things that it's hard going into a merger, but I think what made it easier from my perspective, looking at from the outside, is that you both sort of lost the name of the group.
Yes.
It's like
Oh,
come together as a fresh new group.
100%.
The word united.
Yeah.
So the TNG was merged into the Peter Diamantidis group. So it's all seemed very seamless.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. I think it's weird, prior to the conversations with Pete and, we merged this year, April, but we started talking about mid to late last year, and, prior to that, I was working potentially as we do another partnership, and that partnership didn't feel as natural. While the partnership with Pete just felt natural from day one, and it's funny, when you look back at it, I didn't think about it earlier. You didn't even think about it. No one even considered it. I remember my first meeting, it was me, Pete, Tim, and Dave Simpson. And we walked away thinking, hey, this could work. And like I said, it felt natural because I've known Pete for almost 10 years. Funnily enough, both of us started at Rain and Home.
Yeah, I was going to say that as well. Yeah.
Yeah,
is it different offices though?
Yeah, different. Yeah. But I mean, I've known him for that from day one, and he's always been that inspirational person I've had in my life as well. And he's been a high performer since then. And yeah, personally knowing him also really made me feel comfortable with the move, and for me, looking at what he's achieved and where he's at, that inspires me as well. And for me, merging with someone who I can look up to also, it was important to me.
Seems like it's like you've got different skill sets. You just sort of put it together.
Yeah.
So where does it go now? Because you're so big now. What's 6 offices?
Yeah, 6 offices now. I mean, Pete's always, working on the next.
He's always working on something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, I love that about him. He just doesn't stop. He's always working on what's next. What's better for the team. I mean, and he's very inspirational. So for us, I mean, one of the reasons we also merged was because we saw a gap. So Pete's core markets are in the far west Sydney parts, St. Mary's, Marsden Park, Mandurah, those markets, and then I had my office in the hills. And so merging together made sense because now we can service basically anyone and everyone. Because so people generally move from sort of the far west market to say the midway point between where I am, and then to our hills market as well. Yeah. And now as we expanding further, we are, bridging those gaps in between. as well. And I mean, yeah, with the merger, it's helped us because we have more support. We can service more buyers, more sellers. My team's loved it. I mean, like sales meetings each Friday, there's about 100 of us there. I'm not sure if Pete mentioned, but we meet up at a church.
Yeah, you did it at the Greek
Yeah,
church.
yeah.
Yeah, you could break some plates or
Yeah, apparently that's where he got married.
Oh,
as well.
right.
And yeah, it's amazing. Like we meet there, it pumps up everyone. It's great to see how many of us are there. Yeah, it's very inspiring. So yeah, I mean, yeah, the mergers worked out really well.
So what do you do outside of this? Because you're like you said you work 7 days. Like what makes you tick?
Yeah.
When you're not working, what do you do?
I mean, for me, fame's important. So my wife, Michaela, my two boys, Leo and Xavier. I mean, for me, any time I have apart from work, I spend with them. I mean, of course, otherwise, I'll have to train. I'll try and train every day. But for me, if I'm not working, I'm with them. Or basically close people like yourself. People who I enjoy spending my time with. And yeah, I mean, you either keep your circles smaller but with better people. So I mean, it's sometimes it is hard to find a balance, with work and family and all the rest as well. But I still try and take, multiple holidays throughout the year as well. So I might be working 7 days a week for 2 months straight, but then we'll take a little break for a couple of days, go away with the family.
Yeah. Now we're at Connect. I have to ask you this before you leave. 4,000 people,
Yeah.
some of the best people from Ray White, great speakers. Is there anything that stood out for you that is a takeaway you're going to implement or?
I mean, I love coming to these events because it's funny, there's people you see who you haven't met in 3 years, but then you meet them again. It's like you met them a few weeks ago. And that's the best part about Connect because like I tell my whole team is all like, is this such a special event? You get to meet so many, beautiful people. For me, what I take away the most is, from Ben White's messaging around what's important to us, as a group, as a team as well. And that there's no one bigger than the brand itself, and that we all stand for the right values. I think values are important, and how we work as an agent, how we work as a business owner. So at the end of the day, we're here to do the right thing and do it well as well. So for me, seeing how strong he's a leader, that inspires me. And I think leadership is so important.
Yeah, it really is. Now, what does success look like to Shiv Nair?
I mean, for me, it's broken down in many sorts of many pieces, right? I mean, short term, long term as well. I mean, short term goals for me right now is really, and I mean, and I can say this because one of the reasons I merged was so that I can also focus more time as being a high performing agent as well. So for me, short term is to have a PBE this current financially, grow my team, progress them as well from associates to agents as well. At the same time, Peter and I have goals of expansion, keep, and then more so expansion in the hills as well. But yeah, so, just pushing hard together, trying to be a stronger agent and a business owner as well. But yeah, I mean, the next 5 years, I'm so excited to see where we'll end up in the next 5 years.
Well, I'm very excited to see it as well because I've been following your journey for a while and you're dominating, you're doing it with class, you're doing it so well. And I think the merge has been so good for all of you guys. So remains to be seen what you do, but I'm sure you're going to go forward and it's exciting times ahead.
Oh, thank you, bro. I appreciate it.
Thanks for being on Call Me Successful. Really appreciate it, Shiv.
Thank you.
Thank you.